Welcome to Choose Your Attitude podcast, brought to you by the Choose Your Attitude brand, a premium encouragement brand. Choose Your Attitude is a community that champions the idea that attitude is a choice within everyone's grasp. A brand isn't good without a logo, and boy does Choose Your Attitude pack a meaning. You turn it on its side, it's an hourglass for time. We have two hearts for community. The one on the left is your past, while the one on the right is your future, lifting up your past. And of course, the butterfly effect. Although we can't control the trials and tribulations we go through, we do control how we approach them with the power of choice of our attitude. Choose Your Attitude is a premium encouragement brand that offers men's and women's apparel and accessories, lots of the selections, and please go shop at chooseyourattitude.com. And this podcast is made possible by viewers like you and, of course, our sponsors. If you would like to be a sponsor on Choose Your Attitude podcast, please email us at hello@chooseyourattitude.com. All right, well, let's get into this podcast now. So let's roll the intro.
Let's step back a little. Take a look inside our true self. Get comfortable in the uncomfortable. And let's embrace our reality. Life is tough, but so are you. Welcome to the Choose Your Attitude podcast with Nicholas Strand. Join Nick, author of Loving Someone Who's Dying, as he shares his experiences of life loss to life on the road as a traveling roadie. He and his guests will get into real topics while encouraging you to let go of the past, lift up the present, and fiercely build your better tomorrow. Let's get through this together. Now, here's your host, Nick Strand.
Welcome back to the Choose Your Attitude podcast. On today's episode, I've got a guy by the name of GMadison. GMadison is a dancer, a choreographer. He also is married to Chenelle, who's a singer, and together they make quite an amazing team. Just had a kid, just moved to Australia. GMadison actually is a dancer for Mariah Carey and a lot of other large names. He's a humble man, so it's hard for him to say that and share. But I brought him on to talk about that, talk about dancing, but more importantly, a music video that can be seen on YouTube. It's called Invincible, and this video is amazing. Chenelle sang the song Invincible. GMadison directed it. It talks about really heavy topics about, some of the things and challenges that we hold inside that people don't really see. A lot of the hate that goes on. And I'm excited to talk to him about that. The lessons of dancing to the song Invincible. So let's take it away. GMadison, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. I can hear the crowd cheering. I love it. Give me more. Give me more.
Oh, my gosh. I missed the crowd. I can't wait till that happens.
Yeah.
I actually got called for work for the middle of the year, and I started crying. So, yeah, I out of everybody, like, that is one of the most exciting things that I'm thankful for and looking forward to.
Me too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love it. We've been talking about this for a while, so it's I'm glad we finally got there. Just so the world knows, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and kind of, how you got to where you are now.
You know what? It's funny when you ask me who I am, and I usually would just drop names. Like, that's kind of what my whole career has been. It's been just dropping names. And I've started to realize, just recently, I would say, 4 months ago, we had a baby. So I'm now a dad. So that one little moment in time, it was 7 hours of labor, but it kind of, it has helped me redefine or re-understand what we're here to do and what we can do while we're here. On this planet, I've lost some people in my life. I'm sure you have too, as I know. And I'm sure people who are watching and listening right now, they've lost people in their life, friends or family, loved ones. And I hope that those experiences or those losses aren't just stories we tell people, but they actually help us re-understand and redefine who we are. So, I mean, who am I? I'm a, young dude from San Diego, California, who started in theater and raised by my parents. Both of my parents really raised me to be a creative entrepreneur, dreamer, executor, someone who sets their goals on something and really makes a plan and gets it done, and it's been really interesting for me through my career as a creative performer, as an actor, or as a choreographer or a dancer. But I really enjoyed the trip of learning as I go. Everyone says they're a student of life, and I really, really, really believe that. If you're looking for it, you'll learn something. And so that's what I've been doing, looking for all the things I could learn, and from self-help books to traveling around the world as a performer. I've been really studying, what my experiences are and why I've had them and what I can learn from them. My brother once told me, he starts to think about what he's thinking about and look at what you're seeing and listen to what you hear. As those are different things to think about. Do we just hear stuff or are we listening? Do we just see things or are we looking? And that's really been helpful for me to live actively. So that's a long answer for who I am. I guess I'm still a work in progress.
No, I love that. I mean, that's the deeper value of who you are, and the think about what you're thinking about. That was pretty deep. I had to write that down. Yeah. So you kind of have become something greater, though. You're being a little bit humble. Talk about kind of that journey, I guess, from a little kid to the successful part where you are now.
It's just been a hustle, man. I really enjoy the work. I mean, as a young kid, imitating Michael Jackson in my kitchen floor, learning how to do the moonwalk. That was my first dance class. MTV was my first dance class. Dancing in my living room and learning all of the moves. That was my first opportunity to imitate and critique myself, which I think is what helped me a lot. But my dad is an actor. He still is an actor. He worked his whole life,
oh, wow.
And he's retired now, but he retired from the workforce, but he is still acting. He's got a couple commercials out right now, actually. Shout out to my dad, Grandison M. Phelps III. He is, I was raised around my mom in the choir at church and my dad, walking around the house reciting Shakespeare. That was my household in San Diego. And so I got into dance on accident, and I got into theater. My dad and we actually did Fences. I don't know if you've heard of Fences by August Wilson, but it's an old school play, and there's a father and son duo in there, and he and I both were able to play father and son in that show, and we got awarded, best actor and best supporting actor.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, really cool. And anyway, so that was my first run-in with creativity, was right in my household. I didn't have to go anywhere but wake up and see and help my dad with his lines. I remember helping him with his lines. And, it just turned into something really cool. And then I went to college. I mean, this is after years of doing some dance teams. I created my own dance company in San Diego. And I was on dance companies myself as a dancer, and I got off of those. I quit. I was something different. I knew I was something different. And I had a hard time cloning myself, and matching everyone and
Yes.
blending in, I was like, I stand out. Maybe I stand out for the wrong reasons sometimes, but that's what I do. And anyway, I was in college. I went to college in LA. I had applied to all these colleges around the country in America, and a few said yes. The ones I really thought I wanted was, out of state, and some of them said no. And anyway, I ended up staying and going to community college for the first 2.5 years, which was a smart idea. and then I transferred up to Cal State Los Angeles, and that's where I was. I got a bit closer to the industry, obviously being in Los Angeles, and I booked my first job. When I got an agent as a dancer, and it was Beyonce, and then I actually,
Wow.
actually turned the job down because I wanted to finish school. So first job I got I turned down, and then it was just
Wait. Your first job was Beyonce,
yeah. I mean, it was a job
and
I
you turned it
for.
down.
Yeah, I did. It was I had a good running in the audition, and I had met the choreographer a couple weeks before, and I went to the audition, and I was getting chosen for it, and they were saying, "Well, gee, are you available for this?" And I was like,
Wow.
and then I went and told my parents, and they were all excited for me, and they said, "Well, if you take that job, you probably won't finish school, and we won't be helping you anymore," kind of thing. And I was like,
So I gotta ask because
yeah.
one thing I think people, what I kind of heard by that is something important there. So I gotta ask, like, do you regret the patience that you took to fulfill something you had already started, to be able to have that, the word's not coming to my mind, but to feel the gratification of now finishing college.
To feel fulfilled and to feel complete,
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
like, no, not at all. What? Maybe it was a theater industry that I really learned the craft of rehearsal and the journey and auditioning and the hustle. And I mean, people who came over to my parents' house for dinner was like Lawrence Fishburne and people like that.
Wow.
That my dad was acting with. These people were coming over to my parents' house and having dinner, and I had to go upstairs and go to bed. And my dad is doing shows with James Avery from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he shows in San Diego with who became Whoopi Goldberg and a bunch of other big names.
Geez.
And so I was around people who hustled after it. I was around people who didn't just bump into the career. They didn't just meet the casting director at the club or at the mall. They actually hustled. And I know some amazing actors that never got the gratification or the acknowledgement that I think that they should have. So no, I don't regret it. I've worked with Beyonce a couple times after that, so it came back to me. I didn't work with her on her tour, like this was what it was for. But I got a lot of other opportunities, and I got my degree, and not that I have had to actually use it yet, but there are certain things that I learned about myself and about life that I think getting a degree does help with. So I don't think I got a degree so I could have a diploma. I think I got a degree so I could learn as much as I could in that period of time in my life.
Yep.
And I did. I learned how to carry myself. I learned how to hustle. I learned how to complete something. I learned a few things.
Bingo.
I met some really cool people.
It's crazy because the same thing happened to me. Well, not the exact same thing, but something similar. 2 years into college, I felt, over knowledge. I felt like I was ready to move on. And I remember I actually went, to a Kenny Chesney concert, and I worked for the company that was doing video for the tour. And after it, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go on the road. I don't need to do this. And the person who I was in contact with basically was like, well, here's the deal. You need to finish college and you need to complete it. I had 2 years left. So for me, I was like, oh my God, like 2 more years? Like, no, this is, and, he said right out of college, I will hire you. And I didn't understand anything onto why or what that message was. And as things kind of continue and life has continued, the biggest lessons I've learned from that is consistency. And like you had said too, completing something. Sometimes it's not about jumping to the second spot in line and being able to jump up that fast. Sometimes it's actually going through the steps to get to the finish line. So I had to ask you, I had to connect that, and because Beyonce is a big name to say no to, and most would be like, well, why did you do that? But I think the message that I heard there was, the consistency to complete something you had already started and would be more difficult to finish later.
Yeah.
But then at the same time,
Yeah.
some of the confidence that, with your patience and your determination, you will still get there. And here you are today, like I said, we met by you being a dancer for Mariah Carey. So,
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm glad you noticed that, man. Thanks for noticing that.
yeah,
It really does help me to realize that I never booked a tour with Beyonce. So, but I don't regret my choice.
Yeah.
I do wish that I had gotten a tour with her, but I don't regret the choice. There was so much, being urgent is different. Hustling is different than I I forget the word that I used to use, but it was like hustling is not struggling. Like
yep,
it's okay to hustle, but I didn't want to see myself struggling. So, when I said no to a job, it was out of abundance, knowing that something else would be coming and that more would happen in my career. And my career wasn't doomed because of this choice right here. I wasn't being negative. I wasn't throwing rocks into the universe. I wasn't turning down something. I wasn't turning away from something. I was just kind of saying, let me do this. So I wasn't saying no. I was more so saying yes over here, so that was a different kind of adjustment for me. So, yeah. So I think I ended up working with Diva after that. And yeah, like you said, ended up working with, Sean and working with Mariah Carey and Alicia Keys and Rihanna and Lady Gaga and a bunch of, divas, so to speak, but they were all amazing bosses.
No, I love that. And, sometimes rising to the top as opposed to just starting up there, makes you a little bit more proud for where you are. And I'll have to agree with that too. The 2 years that I did spend, it challenged me to find, learn some lessons that I've learned from that. And so I'm thankful for that for sure.
For sure.
So I gotta ask, your wife is an artist. How did you two meet? And tell me a little bit about her.
Well, the meeting was very simple. I'm in Australia, like you said, and I'm filling out all this immigration paperwork right now because I want to make sure I get all of my medicals, and I want to make sure that I'm legit here because my tourist visa has been expiring. So I got to maybe get to America, and I'm not ready to go back just yet. But so I've been writing out this immigration work about how we met. And the funny thing about it is I thought that, when we got married, I thought that she wanted, citizenship in America. I thought she was trapping me, but actually, I thought I was trapping her or something. I don't know. But either way, it turns out that now I'm here and I'm trying to get not citizenship, but permanent residency here. So being married to an Australian actually helped me out to be able to get into this city here in Perth. But we met. Have you seen the show? New Girl?
I have not.
So New Girl has
Wow.
a young man in the cast. His name is Lamorne Morris, and he's a young black comedian, comedic actor, and I had some friends who were friends of his, and we ended up meeting him I ended up meeting him at his house for a barbecue way back when. And this is 2008, and 2008, and I showed up there with a girlfriend of mine, and the first person I really saw was Chenelle sitting there, cracking up out loud, eating, having people all around her, just not the life of the party, but definitely she had a lot of life in her, She wasn't trying to be known, seen, but she just couldn't help but be noticed. And then she had this strong Australian accent, and I had a thing for Australian women in a time. And so she had this strong Australian accent. She's got this different look. And so, yeah, at this barbecue in North Hollywood, California, I bump into this girl who just, no makeup, just wearing some jeans and a t-shirt, nothing fancy, no heels. She didn't have her hair pulled up, and she wasn't all like that, but she was exactly what I needed at that time. And I was dating a lot of people at the time too, and I literally called them all and I said, "Hey, I met this girl and I'm sorry, but she's got everything I need, like she's got it all." So I was literally dating all of these girls for what Chenelle had in one package. So I had to let them go.
Can't beat that.
I let them go. And luckily she liked me back. So that was lucky. And I didn't even know she was in the industry. She just happened to be, it's a Hollywood party. Everyone's talented there, but I didn't know that she was a singer or anything like that. And so I went home that night and I looked her up on MySpace at the time. And I looked at all her pictures and I saw that she was, in front of thousands of people, and she was in front of cameras and lights, and she had all this hair and makeup and outfits going on. And I could tell then that she was a star of some sort. And we connected, not even on a creative level, just on a human level, which was pretty brilliant. And we dated quickly, and I went on tour. She went on tour. She had to go back to Australia for her visa, and I had to go on another tour, and we were going all over the place, and we just stayed connected, man. And, a few years later, we got married and bought a house, bought a couple properties, and then we got a baby now, a baby named Santosha.
Oh my gosh. And she is adorable.
She's something.
I love it.
She's something. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The experience, I'm sure.
And it's a crazy relationship. It's really something, like, to meet someone who just understands all that stuff. The problem is, like, sometimes, speaking about myself, we can take advantage of that, and I can just go off and do my own thing and forget that even though my wife is supporting me to kind of do my thing, I still got to reach back and stay connected. So that's sometimes very difficult to do when you make a living entertaining and connecting with people all over the world. You have to remember that there's boundaries everywhere, and how to keep that safe. Yep. So sometimes that could be tough, but she knows how to get me together.
No, it's definitely a yin and a yang and a back and forth. And, some of those challenges I found on the road have actually helped. I felt when Brianna was alive, helped our relationship and making it better, helped us, strengthen our communication. Because obviously, as you know, when you're right there next to each other, sometimes there's communication that you can not fail at, but suppress because you're right there. And so some things aren't as needed to communicate, but when you're away, some of those communication things or actions are challenged. And so it's tough, but at the same time, something strong.
Yeah, I agree.
So I gotta ask. So here you are as a dancer. You meet Chenelle, and she's this performer, and I gotta lead into some of the amazing work that you two did together. Most recently, I'm looking at the video here. It says 9 months ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Wow.
But you guys do work together, and if you haven't if you haven't seen it yet, if you go to Chenelle on YouTube, her video is called "Invincible," and Chenelle sang for this. You directed it, and I think this video is amazing. It's very, very heavy, and to be honest, was kind of, I knew we wanted to have you on the podcast for sure to talk about your story, but when I saw this video, I was like, okay, this is definitely something we need to have on there.
Wow.
But before I say anything about it, I want to hear your thoughts and hear you kind of talk about, that journey, and describe this video a little bit.
Every project that I've worked on has come from a place of necessity, current situations, and I say necessity, like the need to tell this story, the need for this to come out, the need for people to help me tell it. But also when I say current situations, what's happening in the world, what's being promoted, what's being, suppressed, what's being exaggerated, who's being misused. Every project that I've ever done has come from a place like that, where someone had an idea, but I know that creating art has to be done from an authentic place, or it will just be, even as a choreographer, it'll just be a bunch of moves. As a singer, it'll be a bunch of lyrics. As a model, it'll just be a certain pose. But when you say something with what you do, I really think that it touches someone. And I saw a show recently here in Australia, here in Perth, and that it was a contemporary piece, and it was so interesting. And I thought I understood it. I said, oh man, it's about this, about that. Wow. And I was kind of in tears watching it. And then I talked to one of the dancers later, and she said, oh no, it's not about that at all. And it was just so interesting that even though I was wrong, it still did its job to evoke feeling, to evoke thought, to evoke change, to evoke empathy. I think that it did everything that art was supposed to do. And I think we often think that people are supposed to get it all the time. And maybe they don't get it today. Maybe they get it in a year later. Maybe it's the song. I don't know if you've done this before, but you've heard the song for years, and then all of a sudden you hear it again when you're an adult, or when you've gone through something, and that song just sits on your heart in a different way, or makes you move in a different way, or makes you laugh at something that you knew those lyrics before, but now you know what they really mean. And so working with Chenelle has been one of my favorite things of my career, especially because we didn't plan it like that. We planned to be together as boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, and then we realized that we were actually growing at the same speed. I was doing great things in my own way, and so here we are. I think 8 songs after. I've choreographed her tours, I've choreographed her music videos, overseas, locally, domestic, releases and everything, and we work really well together in that space. I remember we even got into an argument one time, the morning of a music video shoot, and it was like whack. I didn't want to get out of the car and work, and she was, everyone was inside waiting for her to come in and get into hair and makeup, and we were arguing in the car, and people were, her assistant was knocking on the window saying, it's time, like we have to get going, and we're like still arguing, and it's just like a hot mess. And then we got out of the car, and then we were able to, I don't know if we finished it, but we were able to get the job done and do it well, and and I'm very hands-on, and I have to put other guys next to her sometimes, and it's just very interesting in that space. But this song, Invincible, came, I have to let you talk to her about where it came from for her, but when we spoke about it, it was, during a pandemic. It was during a time where we really shouldn't be up next to people, and I didn't believe that America, especially not California or Los Angeles, was being as safe as they could. And so one idea turned into another idea, but wearing masks. And then I thought, well, wearing labels was what really happens to us. And so I started figuring out how to put labels on their face, so that they could represent what people call us, as gay or straight or black or green or trans or, a politician or racist or a bigot or, anything. There's so many labels. And so I started writing out different labels with her, and then we talked about telling different stories. And so we told a few different people's stories, as you saw there in the music video. I think that we casted it perfectly. I had a hard time with one of the guys, one of the actors, because he's a great guy, sweet dude. His name is Joely, and he's an artist himself. And I wanted him to act as this, aggressive man, really pushing on this girl in this back alley. And he does not want to represent anything like that. So I had to communicate with him that the better you play this role, the more good you do in the world. And he, he's like, he didn't want to play that kind of role. He didn't want to be seen as that. He didn't even want that energy around him. And I never thought of that. As an actor, we play a role to help tell a story, period. But he was very clear with the energy he had circling his name and his face and likeness, right? And somehow I got him to choose in and step up to it, and he did such a great job. So shout out to Joely, but shout out to all the the cast members in this piece, because Chenelle wasn't even in this video at all. We chose not to have her in it this time just for the sake of the story. We didn't want it to be a performance piece. We wanted it to be a statement piece. We wanted it to say something and resonate with people. So I'm so glad, Nick, that it touched you in that way, because many people cry when they watch it, thinking about what labels that people place on them. And the scary thing about it is that when people place labels on you, sometimes you start to live up to that label. You start to become that thing. Trying not to be that thing, you become that thing. So I have family members that always says, it's not what you call me, it's what I answer to. So you call me what you need to call me, whatever that is for you. I don't appreciate it, but what really matters is what I answer to. So this piece was huge for me to do. I love doing pieces like that mean something. So thanks for noticing, brother.
For the viewers, some of the lyrics are very, very heavy, and are part of this music video. For example, "You Can't Be Replaced," or "You Are Invincible," and that just as this talented music video, and you watch it. You're seeing these people at first kind of go through these struggles that it's amazing society likes to suppress when we go through a struggle. And so we're all going through something, and some of these things are very extreme. And so at the very, very beginning of the music video, it shares some of those, and then as it goes on, it has these dancers with the tape over their mouth to kind of signify that what they're hiding. And keep in mind, this was released when, COVID had hit, and then at the same time, the George Floyd incident had happened. And so, the unrest of, trying to get equality, and, to see these words on their faces as these humans are just trying to, have that smile or not be judged by, I want to say, I don't want to call them normal, because, some of them are not normal, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that, struggle is something a part of life. And so these words are on there. So for example, I'm going to go through them: dirty, crime, damaged goods, nigger, bitch, fag, kung flu, sex object, ugly, invincible. And so these are kind of those tape messages on these. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying invisible. No, the word, I think you said invincible, but it is invisible. Yep. Yeah. And that kind of, those kinds of words, man, like, I actually let these actors pick their own words, by the way. So I let these dancers pick the words that they've heard before, and that they've heard said to them, and what they think represents some of the stereotypes that they've been given. And so these were not words that I thought of and gave to them. These are words, I probably made 30 different words out there. And during the rehearsal, I asked them to all pick the word that they felt would hit the hardest into their soul, individually. And so the things you see them wearing, that's their choice. So it was even heavier, and it was emotional for some people to pick up their word. It was emotional.
You watch the video, and one thing that I love about it is, obviously there's the dancing and the choreograph, but you feel the pain that they're holding in as they're doing this, and I think it's a when you watch it, it's kind of that sentiment that a couple different things, that everybody is human, and it's the strength that they hold within. I think the power of everybody's story is so huge, and that everybody deserves to be treated as human. And I think this goes to show that unfortunately there's a lot of times in society where we'll push some negative on other people,
Yeah.
and it affects them more than we think it does.
Yeah.
Which some of the lessons from this video I've learned, and I've been trying to challenge myself, is kind of that perspective feel of when you talk to somebody or you feel something from somebody and it's maybe a negative feeling, trying to understand maybe the perspective of what their story holds, and some of the struggle that they're going through, or the challenges they're facing with some of these things. And it's also inspired me too to, for instance, with Choose Your Attitude,
Right.
and other things, to help and to be present, and to not judge people for going through those things, or
How they went, how they went
also,
through them. Yeah. How they experienced,
yes,
Yeah. Empathy is the hardest, most amazing thing to learn and practice for me. I mean, I think it's the hardest thing for our whole, society, but it's hard for me. And when people say put yourself in their shoes, when I did that, I would still say, yeah, but I would have never done that. I put myself in their shoes, as opposed to putting myself in their experience, how they might feel, not how I would feel in that situation, but how they must feel. And I think that oftentimes we just think about what we would have done and what we would feel like, and that's not empathy. That's judgment, and it's hard for me. I mean, as a husband, as a new father, as a leader, as a black man, as a man, as a human on this planet, it's difficult for me to practice that at all times. But I'm working on it. And I think if I can do more art like what I just did with Invincible, that helps me. This is my way of being empathetic to stories that I may not understand. I think actors, dancers, some of the best performers of all time are the most empathetic people. And I think that's why we connect to the stories that they tell, is because they are putting themselves in the space of another person, another experience, And so when I told the story about the young lady there who's getting hemmed up in the alleyway, I've never been a woman before. So I talked to Chenelle about what is that? I watched other documentaries about that feeling, that men would never know how that feels to be a woman in a man-driven, society where they get bullied for all kinds of reasons and treated like crap. And then here they are, this object, this sex object is the word or the phrase that she picked up. And I just never thought of, I don't think about what it's like to go to the dumpster and throw trash away. I don't think that could be dangerous. I just go get it done and I come back inside. But to be someone who may have experienced something like that, or had a mother or auntie or sister who experienced something like that, it's traumatizing. So I try to figure out, how do I tell that story? how do I tell these stories, period, about things that I've never experienced, So it's
And
creating
I
art.
think that's point.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying creating art is just been my way of practicing empathy because it's definitely a challenge for me
Yeah.
sometimes.
No, I think that's huge too, and it's the idea of story, understanding the full story and listening. And I think, that's one thing I would say too about, helping people that maybe are vocalizing this to a friend or something. It's sometimes just listening and hearing, like you said, is it's that full story of their perspective, because as we grow up and as we try to develop, we all go through something, and triggers are created, and things mean different to other people. And so as you grow, those things, some triggers continue, and it's I just think it's very heavy to see how some of those things that are on there. I don't want to. I feel bad calling them simple, but they are simple, yet very extreme and heavy. And so that's that was one thing that I just it really was a heavy video, and it did an amazing job vocalizing the message. And props to you, especially on a I don't want to say timing was everything, and I know you guys didn't do it for that, but it was an important time in society to kind of get that message and to continue that message to remind people. So yeah. All right. Well, I love this. I mean, kind of to segue then, I'd love to ask, what for kids that are wanting to be a dancer,
Hmm.
the outside of just the practice, what would you say would be one of your biggest suggestions? You and your wife as in the industry, what would be your biggest suggestions of light for kids that want to do this?
Well, I would say do everything you can. That's one thing I would encourage parents, like as a new parent myself, I encourage you to try a bunch of stuff and really try it. And don't worry about the validation that you may or may not get from others, but really listen to your inner voice. Like, is this something that really does it for you? Because everything is going to have its ups and downs, ebbs and flows. And the people that will last and actually have a really solid career in this are the ones that do it because they really love doing it, not because someone else told them they were good. So be careful not to just jump on the bandwagon. I saw something the other day that said, if you don't lead yourself, then you'll follow people into their dreams. So if you don't lead yourself to your dreams, you'll end up jumping on the bandwagon of someone else's dream, which is not a negative thing, except that you forget yourself. And so you live this plan B kind of life. So I would encourage people to, try it all. And once you like it, go for it. It's okay to change your mind, set goals, and enjoy the ride. Really, really be in the moment so that you can enjoy the choices you've made. But COVID was an interesting thing because a lot of people had to stop going to work and stop doing certain things in this industry. And they realized that they didn't really love it unless someone was watching, or they didn't really
Yeah.
love it unless someone told them they were good, or they didn't really love it unless they were being applauded. So be careful, to just do the things that you love, and the applause will come or not. Either way, it's about the energy and the vibration that you leave on this planet or in this universe, by doing what we love. So
Would
do
would you
that.
say would you say consistency, or just that never giving up, as far as like getting that opportunity to finally shed light to
Well,
be
yeah, I
on the
mean,
big stage?
well, consistency is good. It's necessary. Some of the best performers are inconsistent, and they don't have a career. They just jump from gig to gig. So being consistent is important. But I would say just keep listening. To what's happening around you, and remember, are you continuing to go because you don't want to be the one that gave up, or are you continue to go because you love it so much? So being consistent sometimes can be to a fault where you just keep on hitting the stone, like maybe find a new angle, and so sometimes it is good to be consistent. Just keep hitting that same spot, and sometimes you need to shift a little bit, you know. And having the energy, having the fuel to go is good, but sometimes you need to change your trajectory just a little bit. Just keep that energy, but maybe shifting a little bit. So, be consistent, but be flexible. you know.
No, for sure, for sure. And one thing I gotta ask you that I ask everybody, Brianna's
Mhm.
legacy: choose your attitude, create your life. What does that mean to you, and how would you interpret that into your own words?
Well, first off, I love the quote, and I always love it when you say it. I'm like, say it again for the people in the back, like let everybody hear this, But yeah, I really do think that we are in control of our universe. I think that we are more magical than we think we are. I do think that we are so powerful with how we treat ourselves and how we treat others. But it starts from the inside out. Self love is like probably one of the greatest gifts ever, because I think what you give yourself, if you don't give it to yourself, you definitely don't have it to give to others. So I do believe in the power of choice. And I was talking to my nephew the other day about the power of choice and how I want him to make choices that will change the scenario. It can totally change the outcome of how things go from here on out, or that relationship can change just based on that choice you made, even though it seems like it's just another drop in the bucket. But I was going to say another angle of this is, I've been addicted to something, and that addiction is to happiness. I've been addicted to
Yes.
being happy in the sense that I feel like if I'm not happy, that life is not good or worth living, or I can't be nice to other people, or just so addicted to being happy that if I'm not happy, then the world is over and I'm doomed.
Yep.
And that showed up in my marriage, that showed up in my career sometimes. It shows up in how I treat myself, and definitely in how I treat others, obviously. And that addiction to happiness is not that you can't pursue it or create it or be happy and enjoy that, but it's like things aren't always fun, you know.
Right.
Things aren't always fun. I should say that to Shay. I just want to have fun. It's like, well, things aren't always fun. Sometimes you got to take the trash out.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to wash the dishes. Sometimes you got to, you know, brush your teeth. You can't just have it all without doing a little bit of work. Faith without work is dead. So the Bible says, right? So same thing with, how we treat each other. And I needed to balance that and almost welcome both of them and learn from both of them, learn from the down and the up.
Yep.
And so, yeah, choose your attitude is basically, to me, says celebrate and exercise choice and make sure that you make the right one in those different scenarios. That the right choice. What's the right choice? Well, if you're looking for the right choice, that's a nice start.
I
you
love
know
it. No, I agree. I see that you're wearing our shirt. I love that even more.
I don't know. I don't know where I got it. I don't know. Somewhere in my closet.
No, I love
Actually,
it.
it wasn't in my bag because I just wore it yesterday, and I wore it the day before that. And
I
people
love
think I
it.
don't have any clothes. I
Represent.
just love
No.
wearing. I love wearing things that say something and that mean something. So, I mean, of
Hey.
course, I got the Balenciagas, I got my Adidas, I got my stuff. But I love
Yes.
to wear something that makes people say, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Like, So yeah, I got my face mask. If I'm gonna wear a mask, if I'm gonna block half of my face, I'm gonna say something.
No, I love it. No, that's great. Where can people find you and your wife at if they want to find you?
Well, well, listen, my wife has millions of fans. Okay, she's got 8 gold albums and a couple platinum albums, and
Oh
she's
wow.
she doesn't need any help. I need the plug. Okay, I need the plug.
All right.
Right.
Yes.
Um, Obviously, I got my website. We talked about that a bit ago. I got my
Yep.
website. It's GMadison IV, which is the fourth, gmadisoniv.com. You can also find me on Instagram at GMadison4, the number 4. I'm on Facebook as well. I'm trying to get better at that. Here in Australia, people use Facebook like it's the Bible. So I'm definitely getting better at that. Yeah, man. I'm not going to give my number out, but but you can find me where you look for me. I'm teaching workshops all over the place, man. Here in Australia, I'm going to be here for a bit, but I'm teaching a lot of intensives and workshops out here. I'm adjudicating a bunch of competitions as well, doing feedback and teachers workshops, called So You Think You Can Teach, that I teaching teachers how to teach, reminding them what's important, but also doing a lot of stage coaching and movement control and, performance coaching for talent all over the world, on Zoom, online, and definitely here in person. So I'm right here in my home studio right now as we speak, and I've been having talent come in here every day for some kind of training, getting them prepared for music videos and tours and commercials and live shows. So I'm everywhere, man. I'm just trying to keep this dad bod off. Okay, so I'm trying to stay active.
No, I hear you there.
I want to keep everything tight. So yeah, thanks for asking, man. I hope they can find me. Come look for me, guys. Love to work with you.
Yeah, for sure. I will definitely put your information in the subscription or in the description area. And yeah, I appreciate it.
You know what? I feel really bad. I feel like my wife is going to slap me. The least I can do is tell you guys ChenelleWorld.com. ChenelleWorld.com. And Chenelle, I think it's Chenelle Music on Instagram. I think it is. But if you find me on Instagram, you'll definitely find her. She's in my bio. But Nick, I do want to say, man, thank you for doing what you're doing. Please do not stop. I know that being an entrepreneur is tricky, tough, scary, difficult, impossible, quote unquote. But Choose Your Attitude was, your wife was a special person, and I didn't get to meet her, but she left you a gold mine. So it just so happens to be, very difficult at this place in time, in the world. But Choose Your Attitude is a perfect. It's almost you're almost cursed with it because, that saying alone tells you that there's more. If not to be too mundane or too dark, but if you're still alive, you still got something to do here on this planet, buddy. And I hope you keep doing it. And
thank you.
From here, I'm giving you a pound. Fist bump.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep it up. I hope you guys support him. Get some of this apparel, but even while you're wearing it or when you're not wearing it, hopefully it's a good reminder for yourself and everyone else who sees it or meets you that we can all choose our attitude. Hopefully, make this world a little bit different. While we get a chance.
Facts.
So thanks for having me, buddy. Have a good day. I think what is it? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 p.m. for you? 6 a.m. No.
It's actually 10 a.m. Eastern time over here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. Good for you. It's 10:30 p.m. I'm going to go and make sure my baby girl is still sleeping.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. To reach out to Nick and the Choose Your Attitude community, find us on social media at Choose Attitude Create Life. Share your attitude with the world with merch guaranteed to encourage at ChooseYourAttitude.com. Be sure to share us with friends, family, and colleagues. And while you're at it, leave us an uplifting review. We'd very much appreciate it. Check back for new episodes. Until next time, choose your attitude, create your life.